It was a quiet night in the small town of Redwood Hill. The sky was dark, full of stars, and the air was cool. Most people were asleep. Everything was peaceful. Until the sky broke open at exactly 2:30 a.m., a loud sound tore through the sky. A burning object flew over the trees and crashed deep into the forest behind Sector 9, the restricted area. The ground shook. Birds flew away. Lights flickered in nearby houses. 12-year-old Emily Carter sat up in her bed, wide awake now. She had always been curious about the forest behind her house. Her father told her never to go there. It's government land, he used to say, not safe. But tonight, something was different. She opened her window. A strange orange light was glowing from the trees. Smoke was rising. And was that a sound? A low humming noise? Like something still alive, Emily grabbed her flashlight and quietly slipped out of the house. Her heart was beating fast. She wasn't scared, not yet. She was too curious. The forest was quiet but tense. As Emily moved closer to the crash site, the smell of burning metal filled the air. Trees were broken. The ground was scorched. A strange black dust covered the leaves. And then she saw a dot in the center of a smoking crater was a strange shape, like a pod or an egg. It was cracked open. Something had crawled out. Suddenly she heard a rustling sound. Her flashlight shook, slightly in her hand. She turned, pointing it toward the trees. At first there was nothing. Then two glowing eyes appeared in the dark. She gasped. A creature stepped out. It walked on 4 legs, but not like a dog or a cat. Its skin looked like smooth stone. Its eyes were too smart, too human. One of its front legs was hurt. It limped slowly, leaving behind drops of thick silver liquid. Emily took a step back. The creature stopped. They stared at each other for a long second. Then Emily whispered, "Ouch, that must hurt." The creature tilted its head. "You naughty animal, what are you?" She asked softly. The creature looked down at its paw as if it understood. "You hurt your paws," Emily said, almost like she was talking to a lost dog. The creature blinked slowly. Then, to her surprise, it sat down. Like it was tired, like it didn't want to scare her. Emily moved closer, one step at a time. She could see it was bleeding. Not red blood, but that same silver liquid. It looked like light trapped in water. "I need to help you," she whispered. She pulled off her scarf and gently moved forward. The creature watched her but didn't move. Then it did something strange. It raised one of its claws and drew a circle in the dirt, then added 3 straight lines through it. Emily frowned. "Is that a symbol?" she asked the creature. Repeated the motion, slower this time. Then it touched its chest and pointed at her. Emily didn't understand. Not yet. But she felt something deep inside her, like a voice whispering far away, like a dream trying to wake up. Suddenly, the sky flashed again. But this time, it wasn't a crash. It was a spotlight. A helicopter. Emily looked up and saw the black shape of a military chopper above the trees. She heard voices on radios. Dogs. Barking. Men shouting. "They're coming for you," she said quietly. The creature stood up slowly. It looked at her, calm but serious. Then it spoke, not in a human voice, not in words, but in her mind. "Help me. She is the key." Emily froze. Did she just hear that? "What do you mean?" She whispered, but the creature had already turned and limped into the shadows. A moment later, flashlights and soldiers burst. Into the area, they saw the crater, the smoke. But the creature was gone. A man in a black uniform turned to another and said, "Too late." It made contact. Emily stood behind a tree, holding her breath, her scarf stained with silver. She had no idea what was happening. But she knew one thing. This was only the beginning. The night felt colder now. Emily sat on the edge of her bed, staring at her dirty hands. Her scarf, the one she used on the creature, was now dry. The silver stains looked like stars across the fabric. No matter how many times she blinked, she couldn't forget what happened in the forest. "She is the key?" That voice still echoed in her head. But it didn't come through her ears. It spoke directly into her thoughts. Clear, soft, and real. She didn't sleep that night. By morning, the entire town was buzzing. People whispered about the fireball in the sky. Some said it was a meteor. Others claimed it was a test. Rocket. No one mentioned the creature. Not even the news. But Sector 9 was now locked down by men in black trucks. Emily wasn't supposed to go to school that day. But she didn't care. Her thoughts kept returning to the creature's glowing eyes, the strange symbol in the dirt, and the way it pointed at her. She knew what she saw. It wasn't an animal. That afternoon, she walked to the forest edge again. There was yellow tape now. Warning signs. A man with sunglasses stood near the trees, watching. She didn't go in. Instead, she turned around and walked behind the old greenhouse near her backyard. She used to play there when she was little, before the plants died and the place turned creepy. But today, she found something waiting for her. On the dusty floor, there was a mark, a circle, with 3 lines, the same symbol. Emily stepped back. How? She whispered. Suddenly. A low hum filled the air, like a soft vibration. Her ears buzzed. Her vision blurred slightly. The light around her seemed to bend. And then it appeared. The creature, it wasn't limping anymore. But its paw still had the silver stain. Emily froze. Her heart pounded. But the fear was mixed with something else now. Recognition. You came back? She whispered. The creature nodded. Slowly. She stepped forward, carefully. I know you're not just some animal, she said. What are you? It stared at her for a moment. Then, slowly, it opened its mouth, but no sound came out. Instead, the air shimmered. Images appeared between them, like a floating dream, made of smoke and light. Emily saw a massive ship in space, planets exploding, strange towers falling, creatures running. A small girl, not her, but somehow familiar, crying as she was taken away. Then, darkness. The images faded. Emily stepped back, breathing fast. What was that? The creature touched the ground with one claw and drew something again. Not a symbol this time, but a shape. A circle and a smaller dot inside. Then it pointed at her. You're saying I'm the dot? She guessed. The creature didn't speak. But its eyes flickered. Then it did something unexpected. It pulled a small metal shard from under its skin, sharp and glowing. Carefully, it handed it to her. As soon as Emily touched it, her mind lit up with static. A strange voice entered her head. You are not just human. You are the sleeper. The signal has reached you. She dropped the shard. No, stop it. What does that mean? The creature stepped back. It was watching her closely, like a soldier waiting for orders. Emily shook her head. I'm just a girl. I'm not a sleeper or a key. But deep down, something inside her shifted. Something woke up. Her hand burned slightly. She looked down and saw a faint mark glowing on her skin. The same symbol. Then she heard the sound of engines. Trucks. Voices. Dogs. Barking. They were coming again. The creature stood still. Alert. Emily turned toward it. You need to go. They'll catch you. It didn't move. Then it gently nudged her hand with its head. A goodbye. And in the blink of an eye, it vanished, not by running, but by folding into the air, like paper disappearing into water. Seconds later, 3 men in black suits reached the greenhouse. They found nothing but dust. One of them touched the ground, where the mark had been. It was gone. Another agent looked around and said, she made contact again, locked down the house. Emily was already running back to her room. She closed the door, pulled out the glowing shard, and whispered, what are you turning me into? The dreams had started. Emily wasn't sure when, maybe the night after the greenhouse, maybe before. But now, every time she closed her eyes, her mind showed her things. Strange things. Not dreams like before. These were too clear, too real. She floated in the dark sky above cities that weren't Earth. She saw machines that walked like men and humans, with silver veins glowing under their skin. She saw wars. She saw something else too, herself. But older, stronger, like a shadow of who she was meant to be. And every time she woke up, she remembered more. 3 days had passed since the creature vanished. Emily hadn't told anyone. Not her father, not the police, not the people in black suits who knocked at their door, smiling too much and asking too little. But she knew they were watching. Sometimes she saw the same black car outside her school. Sometimes the lights in her room flickered when she touched metal. And sometimes the shard the creature gave her would vibrate softly in her pocket, like a heartbeat. She had questions. But no answers. Until that night. She was lying in bed. When the shard began to glow again, this time it didn't hurt. It felt warm, like it was calling her. She picked it up. Suddenly, her window burst open, but no wind came in. The curtains didn't move. Instead, the air twisted, bent, and the creature was back, only now. It wasn't alone. A second figure stepped forward. Not an animal. A humanoid, tall, thin, with eyes like mirrors and skin like melted stone. It spoke, but not with a voice. The code is waking up inside you. Emily sat up, her hands trembling. What code? The tall figure stepped closer. You were created, hidden, disguised as human. A fail-safe. In case we fell. Emily shook her head. No, I was born here. I have a family. I have pictures. They were planted. Memories can lie. The creature, her old friend, moved closer now. It looked at her with eyes full of sadness and pride. Then the humanoid touched her forehead with one long finger, and the world changed. In one flash. Emily saw her true memories locked away until now. She was not born on Earth. She was sent. A war long ago. A secret mission. A human-like girl infused with alien technology, able to adapt, learn, and become a weapon when the time was right. They had lost the war. Her creators were nearly wiped out, but they had sent one hope. A child hidden on Earth. She fell to her knees, breathing hard. No, I don't want this. I didn't ask for this. The tall figure watched her calmly. You were not made to ask. You were made to survive. Suddenly, the shard in her hand clicked, like a key unlocking something. Her eyes flashed with a soft silver glow. The mark on her palm lit up again, brighter this time. Something was changing inside her. She felt stronger, faster, smarter, but also afraid. Down the street, an alarm went off. The black car outside started flashing. The humanoid's eyes turned sharp. The creature growled. They found us. Your time as human is over. Emily looked out the window. Helicopters were coming again. Black suits, weapons, but she wasn't running this time. She stood up straight. What happens if they catch me? She asked. They'll try to control you or erase you. And if I don't let them? The humanoid nodded. Then you must become what you were built to be. Emily clenched her fist. The light in her palm burned brighter. I don't want to be a weapon, then be a shield. The creature stepped forward and pressed its head gently against her chest, a goodbye gesture. The humanoid handed her a small device, like a silver ring, when the moment comes. This will unlock everything. Suddenly the air twisted again. They vanished. The room went silent until, boom. Her front door exploded. Men in black rushed in, shouting. Her father yelled. Dogs barked. Red lasers scanned the hallway. But Emily stood still in her room, holding the ring. One man entered with a strange tool. It blinked red when pointed at her. She's activated. He said, sedate her, the other ordered. But Emily raised her hand, and for the first time, without thinking, she let the light loose. A soft pulse of energy blasted from her palm. Not enough to kill, but enough to stop everything. Men dropped. Lights shattered. The house shook. Then silence. Emily looked at her glowing hand and whispered, What am? I... Asterisk smoke filled the hallway. Emily stood barefoot on the broken tiles of her living room. Her father lay unconscious near the stairs, unharmed but still. The lights above her head sparked and flickered. Soldiers in black were scattered around her, stunned, breathing, but unable to move. Her hands were glowing. Her heart was not. She hadn't meant to hurt anyone. She just wanted them to stop. But now They knew what she could do, and they would come again. Outside, rain had begun to fall. Not heavy, just soft and slow, like the sky was holding its breath. Emily stepped onto the porch. A van screeched around. The quarter. More soldiers jumped out. This time, they weren't here to talk. She didn't know what to do. Then, before she could think, she heard it. A sharp growl. From the roof. They didn't see it. But Emily did. The creature was back, faster than wind. It dropped down, claws slashing, tail whipping. Glowing with silver rage, one soldier raised a weapon. He didn't get the chance to use it. The creature slammed him into the van with a roar. That echoed like thunder. Another aimed a shock dart. Too slow. The creature leapt. And this time, it didn't hold back. Emily stood frozen. Not from fear, from awe. This wasn't just a naughty animal. This was a guardian. More trucks arrived. Flashing lights, sirens. A drone hovered in the air, scanning everything. Emily ducked behind a tree. The creature dashed to her side. Panting. It was hurt again. A fresh cut on its side. Silver blood dripping fast. She looked at him and whispered, "You shouldn't have come back." It blinked once. Then twice. Then it spoke. Not in her mind. Not this time. It forced out one word, in a rough, broken voice. "Protect." Her eyes widened. "You can talk." It nodded slowly, then collapsed at her feet. Emily didn't have time to think. She tore a piece from her shirt and pressed it against the wound. "You're bleeding again. You always hurt your paws when you try to help me." She laughed softly, but it was shaky. Her hands were trembling. The creature lifted its head, weak. Then it raised one claw and drew a symbol on the ground again. Not a circle this time. A heart. Broken in the middle. Emily looked into its eyes and said, "We have to leave." But where could they go? Suddenly, a voice crackled from the drone. "Surrender the asset. You are surrounded." The creature growled, pulling itself to its feet. But it was too weak. Emily stood in front of it. She raised her hand. The silver mark glowed again, brighter than ever. She didn't know how to control it, but maybe she didn't need to. Maybe she just had to feel. The drone fired a pulse at her. Emily didn't move. The moment the shot hit her, it bounced back like glass. The drone exploded in midair. The soldiers froze. Emily's hair floated slightly. As if the air itself was listening to her. She turned to the creature and said, "Let's finish this." Together, they ran into the forest. Back towards Sector 9. Back to where it all began. The ground was wet. But trees whispered secrets. Emily could feel the energy of the place now. Humming in her bones. There was something buried here. The creature stopped near a broken rock. One Emily had passed 100 times before. But now it glowed under the rain. The creature placed a paw on it. The stone slid open. A hidden door. A hidden world. Inside. Lights flickered to life. Alien lights. A secret lab. Forgotten machines. Glass walls filled with holograms. At the center. A pod. Emily walked toward it. A panel lit up when she touched it. Her name appeared. Not in English, but she understood it anyway. Project E13. Emergency Human Form Protocol. Final key active. She stepped back. The creature sat beside her, breathing heavy. "You knew this place existed," she said. It nodded. "I wasn't born here." "Was I?" It shook its head. She knelt beside it, gently touching its cheek. "You fought for me, protected me, again and again, and I called you a naughty animal." The creature looked into her eyes. "You were my mission." And then its head dropped. Not dead, but unconscious. Too much blood lost. Emily looked up at the alien room. The pod, the screens flashing warnings. Her world had just changed forever, but she wasn't afraid anymore. She reached down, picked up the creature, and whispered, "Then it's my turn to protect you." The door sealed behind her with a soft hiss. Emily stood alone inside the ancient alien chamber. Outside, the rain still whispered through the trees. The creature, her only friend, lay unconscious on the floor near the entrance. He was still breathing, but barely. She had carried him here. She had no idea how she did it. Her body felt stronger. Her muscles moved faster than they should. Her skin still glowed faintly, and deep in her chest, something was pulsing. A strange rhythm, like a second heartbeat. The room ahead was dark then. Without touching anything, the walls lit up. Dot lines of alien symbols flowed like rivers of light across the floor and ceiling. They moved when she moved. They reacted to her. One screen blinked to life. A voice, soft, echoing, and not quite human, filled the room. Welcome, Subject E13. Memory lock status. Awaiting activation. Emily stepped forward. The floor didn't feel like metal. It felt alive, like standing on glass above. A sleeping star. She reached the main console. There was no button, but when she placed her hand on the surface, the symbol on her palm glowed again, and then the world changed. Her vision went white. Her body didn't move, but her mind was pulled somewhere far, far away, into a memory that wasn't just hers. A memory hidden deep inside her soul. She saw a planet, not Earth, a golden world. Bright and beautiful, filled with tall towers and people who looked like stars in human skin, but it was under attack. She saw creatures of black metal, giant and cold, falling from the sky like rain. She saw fire, screams, a child, a girl, being pulled away by two figures. She must survive, a voice said. She's the last. Then she saw the lab, the same lab she stood in now, but clean, glowing, full of life. She was placed into a pod. A memory capsule was sealed inside her bones. Her DNA was rewritten. One day, the voice said, she'll remember who she is. Emily gasped. Batgirl. Was her? The vision ended. She dropped to her knees, shaking. Now she remembered everything. She remembered being created by a dying civilization, the last hope of a species defeated in war. She remembered her creators calling her the bridge, the one who could live among humans, learn their emotions, grow, and one day decide whether humanity deserved to survive or fall like the others. Emily stood slowly. No, she whispered. I'm not a weapon. Behind her, the creature stirred. It opened one eye, saw her, tried to speak, but coughed instead. Emily rushed to him. It's okay, she said. I know now. I remember. You've been protecting me since the beginning. The creature looked at her, weak but proud. She smiled, tears in her eyes. You called me the key, she said. But I think I'm also the lock. Suddenly, alarms blared inside the chamber. One of the screens flashed red. Tracking signal detected. Unauthorized approach. They found you. Emily turned to the screen. Small dots. Fast moving. Closing in on her location. Military. Or worse. You must leave, the system's voice said. Escape route. Sector 9, Tunnel 12B. Time. 4 minutes before breach. Emily looked at the wounded creature. He couldn't walk. So she picked him up again. This time she didn't feel weak. She felt certain she was more than human now. And she knew it. As the tunnel door opened. She paused one last time. She looked back at the glowing room, her past, her creators, the truth. Then she looked forward, at the dark tunnel ahead, full of danger. She took a breath and whispered to herself, I was made to survive, but I choose to fight. Asterisk. The tunnel was long and cold. Emily ran through it with the creature in her arms. The walls were smooth and older than any human structure. They glowed faintly as she passed, reacting to her presence like they remembered her, but she didn't remember this place. Not yet. Her memories came in pieces, like a mirror breaking backward. Images flashed in her mind, hands made of light, towers falling, voices calling her. Experiment 13, the last. Hope, the judge. She didn't understand why it hurt to remember, but it did, because the more she remembered her past, the less human she felt. After 10 minutes, the tunnel opened into a new chamber, smaller, darker, and full of dust. This one hadn't been used in a long time. Emily laid the creature down gently. He was still weak, but he nodded, proud of her, even now. Rest, she whispered. But before she could sit down, a voice echoed through the room. A human voice. So, you finally woke up? Emily turned sharply from the shadows. A man stepped forward. Black uniform. Clean boots. But no. Weapon in his hand. He looked familiar. She narrowed her eyes. Mr. Bell? She whispered he was her science teacher. He had taught her chemistry, molecules, simple biology. Now he smiled. But it wasn't the same smile from class. It was colder. You really thought you were just a schoolgirl? He asked. You think your birth, your placement, your entire life was a coincidence? Emily's heart sank. We placed you here. We've been watching you since the pod landed. The creature growled weakly. Mr. Bell didn't flinch. Double quote, so please. This one was always too attached, he said, nodding at the alien. That was its mistake. We needed a weapon, not a pet. Emily stepped in front of the creature. You use me? She asked. He shrugged. No, we prepared you. Your creators? Made the code. We wrote the test. Earth is the test. He stepped closer. You were never meant to love this world. You were meant to judge it. Your decision determines the outcome. Emily's voice shook. Outcome of what? Of Earth. Of humanity. Behind him, another door opened. Men stepped in. But not soldiers, scientists. Calm, unarmed, watching her like she was a machine ready to activate. We've run. The simulation 73 times, Mr. Bell said. In 72, you choose to destroy Earth. Emily's blood went cold. I would never. You don't know that, he said. The code runs deeper than your emotions. You're a key. And keys open. Locks whether they want to or not. The creature tried to stand. It hissed at Mr. Bell. He laughed. Still defending her? Pathetic. You could have survived. But you fell in love with the subject. Emily's voice cut through the air like ice. He didn't fall in love with the subject. He believed in me as a person. Bell raised an eyebrow. You're not a person. You're a decision? Emily's eyes glowed, not just with power now, but with fire. No, she said. I'm not your experiment anymore. The mark on her palm burned brighter. Her breath became electric. One of the scientists stepped forward, panicked. She's activating without command. Shut her down. Another tried to reach a console. Too late. Emily closed her eyes. And let the truth pour out of her. She saw every moment of her life again. Not just as memories, but as choices. Every time she was kind. Every time she forgave. Every time she cried when someone else was hurt. And none of that was programmed. That was her. The machine inside her. It was code. But the heart, that was real. She opened her eyes. And the room trembled. Mr. Bell stepped back. For the first time, unsure, you don't have to do this, he said. You could rule with us. You could reshape the world. Save the strong. Delete the weak. Emily walked forward. No, she said. I'm going to save what matters. She raised her hand, not to attack, but to rewrite. The light from her. Palms spread like fire, touching the walls, the computers, the air itself. Her DMA unlocked the hidden truth inside the alien system. Initiating override. New core directive. Protect life, not power. The men disappeared in a flash of white. Not dead, but erased. The false program was gone. The lab reset. Itself, returning to silence. Emily knelt beside the creature again. He looked up at her, and this time, he smiled. You chose. Differently, he whispered. She smiled back. I chose me. The sky was no longer blue above Earth. The stars blinked unnaturally, like they were holding their breath. And then they came. Not one ship. Hundreds. Silent, dark, and ancient. Floating just above the clouds. Waiting. Not to speak. To judge. Emily stood on the edge of a ruined launch platform. The remains of an old military base buried beneath Sector 9. Her clothes were torn. Her hands were glowing faintly. The alien creature stood beside her now, strong again, his eyes sharper than ever. She felt it before she saw it, a signal echoing through her blood. The final directive had arrived. Activate Judgment Protocol. Does humanity deserve to continue? The voice was neither kind nor cruel, but it was law. Emily's heart pounded. She had been created for this moment. Every atom in her body built to carry this signal. She had the code, the power, the right dot. If she said yes, Earth would be spared. If she said no, the alien ships above would wipe the planet clean. In minutes, the war that destroyed her creators would now come to Earth. She looked up. She didn't see weapons. She saw mirrors. They were watching, waiting for her to decide. The creature spoke softly beside her. They won't listen to reason, only to the code. She nodded slowly. I know. She looked down at Earth. Cities full of lights. People laughing, fighting, dreaming. A planet full of beauty and mistakes. Not perfect, but alive. Suddenly, her earpiece crackled. A familiar voice broke through. Emily, this is your dad. I don't know what's going on. The sky just turned black. Everyone's scared. Please, come home. She closed her eyes. Tears rolled down her cheek. This was the final test. Not of Earth, of her dot. She was born with alien blood, but raised by human love. She didn't have to choose one. She could become both. Emily stepped forward onto the platform. She looked up at the fleet and spoke, not in English, not in alien code, but in something new. Her voice merged both languages, heart and logic, code and feeling. I have made my decision. The ships blinked. Judgment received. Processing. A long pause. Then the system asked, destroy or spare? Emily took a deep breath and whispered, evolve. The system paused. The sky shimmered. Something impossible happened. The fleet froze. Then shifted. Their shapes changed, folding, twisting. Ships became spires. Weapons became seeds. Machines became roots. They fell slowly toward Earth, but not as enemies. As builders. The creature beside her watched with wide eyes. You changed the code? It said. Emily smiled. I didn't follow it. I rewrote it. They came to burn Earth, it said. No, she replied. They came to ask if we were still worth saving. Across the world, ships landed in silence, but no attack came. Instead, towers rose from soil. Trees grew from steel. Fields of dust became green. The technology of her creators now served life. Not war. Emily had passed the test, but not by being the strongest. She passed it by being human. 1 week later, Emily sat on the rooftop of her house, watching the stars. The world was different now. People were scared, but also hopeful. A new age had begun. The creature sat beside her, peaceful. She looked over and said with a grin, remember when I called? You're a naughty animal? It growled playfully. She leaned back and whispered to the sky. They thought we'd end the world. But maybe humanity is what saves it.